I would love to talk about one of the main fears that often emerges when we lean into the journey of authentic shadow work. And that fear is the fear of losing one's identity. I would love to explore how we can transcend that. If you're new here, my name is Xavier Dagba, and the whole purpose of this space is to spark conversations that ignite self-liberation. So, let's have a quick reminder about shadow work. Put simply, shadow work is the art, I call it an art, of illuminating the aspects of our psyche that we often keep in the dark, or blind spots. And sometimes that implies or emotional conflicts that we haven't resolved, pain that we didn't know how to be with, trauma that is still stored in the psyche, and sometimes even our brightness, that frightens us. So, shadow work is the art of illuminating and integrating all of that. And if you're really serious about your journey of shadow integration, I'm inviting you to get access to my free shadow integration mini course. And this will allow you to own your blind spots so that you can lead your life from the heart. You can find the link in the description. Please go ahead and have that. Now, I would love to lean into how we can actually transcend the fear of losing one's identity. The first thing I would love to do is to validate that fear to a certain degree. Because as we incarnate on this human plane, on this 3D plane, we often confine ourselves into an identity. We need that to navigate this experience of being human. And one of the first things we do is to go through creating that identity. First, we look at the world around us, we look at people around us, we internalize a lot of their blueprints, and we start building an idea of who we are. We start creating that, and it's a foundational aspect of who we think we are. So we hold onto it very tight. This is one of the reasons why you will often see people so defensive, so righteous, because very often it is threatening our perceptions of our own identity. So I'm going to say this thing. Our identity is something that we often defend in the most vicious way. In the most vicious way. Most conflicts out there are sometimes rooted in one person fiercely and ferociously defending their own identity. Having that in mind, you can begin to understand how the fear of losing it can be so visceral, something that we are sometimes even unconsciously pushing against. So that identity, that self-concept, that image of self, it is based off of our beliefs, what we value, our self-image, our worldview, and all of that construct. We are sometimes so afraid of losing it because the ego doesn't know how to define itself without it. It is foundational for the ego. So very often we are afraid of losing it, whereas there is actually a very huge opportunity to loosen it. And that is where we deeply know that leaning into authentic shadow work is going to bring up new information that was in the dark about who we think we are. When you lean in there, you're going to find new stuff about you, things you didn't know were present. And that can be on the dark side, on the brighter side. Some people may find, wow, things that I'm often blaming others for, I also have that within myself. Things that I'm often judging people for, I have a lot of that within myself. And that is the sobering and the humbling that wants to happen. It is dissolving the self righteous idea of who you are. And you may also find out, wow, that you actually have a lot more strength within you than you gave yourself credit for. There are gifts, there are talents that are dormant in your golden shadow that you get to reclaim if you give yourself permission to. So, with that new information that comes from shadow exploration, we have no other choice than leaving behind old identity, but only in a literal sense. Because what we need to understand is all your former selves, they don't just disappear. You shift the way you relate to them. Instead of relating to the world from them, You realize I am actually more than these former selves. And that knowingness allows you to loosen the tight grip. So you're not actually losing your identity. You are loosening how you're relating to these identities. And that distinction is key for your expansion. You're not losing your identity. You are loosening the way you are relating to these identities. And that is foundational. And also, it is also a very big reminder that we identify a lot with values, ideologies, with beliefs. We identify a lot with these, and we try to confine all of who we are in these boxes of beliefs. So one of the biggest invitations that the mere practice of shadow work is going to invite of you is to go back to the I am, which is who you are before you add a definition, meaning before you confine the divinity inside of you. So losing your identity may actually be the best thing that will ever happen to you. It's as if you go from dark night of the ego to dark night of the ego so that you can make more room for an embodiment of your inner divinity, of your truest self, of your authenticity. And with that in mind, it is also important to be aware that sometimes we are not that afraid of losing the identity. Sometimes we are actually more afraid of losing the perks that come with the identity. And some of these perks may be relationships, it may be favors that we are receiving from other people, it may be anything. So, one of the questions that you get to ask yourself, if you feel like you're going through a process of deep transformation, that is implying losing and loosening your relationship to your current identity, I'm inviting you to ask yourself, what are the perks that I'm receiving from this identity right now? Think in terms of relationships, think in terms of friendships, think in terms of, I don't know, social benefits that you may be receiving from that. Not so that you can look down at them, but so that you can actually look at them as things that you may be invited to grieve. It is actually important to make space to grieve these old identities that you may need to let go of in order to embrace a fuller expansion of who you are. Because you are not shrinking as you're doing that. You are adding more to who you know yourself to be. And that, in my opinion, is why you're here. So that fear is natural. That fear is encoded in who we are. And you get to face it openly because the highest purpose of the shadow is actually to get you to dissolve things that are occupying the space of a fuller, more authentic embodiment of who you truly are. So my invitation to you, face it dead on. That's my invitation to you. And be gentle with yourself when that old identity starts dissolving. Because it's only from that place that you have the pure raw material to build something more magnificent. And if you need some support with this, I'm inviting you to go ahead and to get the Shadow Integration mini course. It is free. It will support you. It will give you life-changing perspectives as you are embracing the journey of integration. Thank you for listening. Please share it with people who might need it, and don't forget to like and subscribe.